January 28th, 1997, 10 a.m., Genko Harbor, Hubei Province. The sun also rose today, but to meet an unusual day. This is the day of homecoming. Thousands of people from all walks of life, home and abroad, stood in the chilly wind, eagerly awaiting the emergence of Yangfeng gunboat from the Yangtze River. At last, the moment came for the ship, sunk by the Japanese bombers in a fierce fight 59 years ago, to be brought out of water. All prayed mutually that the steel cords move more slowly and more gently, for the ship could withstand no more rough usage. The several thousand pairs of eyes followed the ship as, bit by bit, it rose out of the water and was cautiously tugged to the dock. Though there was nothing extraordinary about its bruised and worn appearance, people saw in it the many unusual experiences it had gone through, the many moments of glory it had witnessed, and the many heroic souls it had carried to the bottom of the water in the battle against the Japanese invaders. After 59 years of separation, it was eventually retrieved to the bosom of old friends and their posterity. Every Chinese has learned about Yangfeng gunboat from the history books and would never forget about it. For the Chinese, it is a name cut deep in their memory. Thus came this dramatic scene with all its stirring emotional impact. But what is behind the name and the scene? Let us step back in time and trace the ship's superb career of 25 years. When the Chinese Navy, which Li Hongzhang took great pains to build up, was sunk in 1894 battle against Japan, the Qing government planned to form another navy and started to raise funds for the purchase of battleships from other countries. In 1910, Naval Secretary Zai Shun and Naval Minister Xia Zhenbing went to Japan. After some investigation, they ordered 2 gunboats of the same pattern to be built at the Mitsubishi Dockyard and Engine Works in Nagasaki and Kawasaki, Japan. However, by the time the gunboats were completed in 1912, the Qing government had been toppled in the Revolution of 1911 and replaced by the Republic of China. Eventually, Yuan Shikai's government in Beijing paid the remnants of the costs, and the 2 ships sailed into Wusong Harbor in January 1913. They were subsequently enlisted in the First Fleet of China and named Yangfeng and Yongshang respectively. Yangfeng later became known as Zhongshan. The years following 1911 were filled with political unrest. No sooner had Yuan Shikai's attempt to enthrone himself as the Emperor of China came to an ignoble end than Zhang Xun rose to restore the Qing dynasty. Zhang was subsequently ousted by Duan Qirui, who came to power with Japan's support. Duan, however, refused to restore the provisional constitution of the Republic of China, nor the parliament. As a result, Sun Yat-sen launched a campaign in Guangzhou in 1917 to restore the constitution. At this critical moment, under the command of Naval Chief Cheng Bi-guan, the Yangfeng gunboat sailed from Shanghai to Guangzhou to join Sun's cause. In 1922, when success was certain for Sun's northern expedition against the warlords, the commander of Sun's army in Canton, Chen Chongming, rebelled against him, causing a new surge of turmoil. Cheng even issued the slogan, "Blast the presidential hall, capture Sun Yat-sen." Sun had to put on makeup and sneak out of the presidential mansion. On June 16, 1922, escorted by the captain of Yangfeng, he got on the ship. For the next 55 days, he stayed on Yangfeng, and from there, he gave out orders to quell the rebellion. As historians have observed, without Yangfeng, the course of history would have changed drastically. One year later, Sun and his wife revisited Yangfeng in memory of those unforgettable days and nights. The couple took pictures there with the crew on board, who had remained loyal to him through the difficult time. This precious picture records the special attachment of Mr. Sun and Yangfeng, a ship whose faithful company never failed him. March 12, 1925, Sun Yat-sen died of liver cancer in Beijing, a death that put an end to his lifelong struggle of building a modern China. His death was a heavy loss to the newborn republic and plunged the whole nation into great sorrow. In honor of him, the Guangzhou city government renamed Yangfeng Zhongshan. Yet soon, Zhongshan was host to another major event. March 1926, cooperation of Kuomintang and the Communist Party was at an all-time high, and revolutionary forces were flourishing across the country. On the afternoon of March 18th, from the Deputy President of Naval School, Ouyang-ge, Zhongshan gunboat received an order given by the president of the school, Chiang Kai-shek, to sail into Huangpu Harbor. When it arrived, Chiang denied having given the order and declared that Zhongshan's action was the communist attempt of coup d'etat. On March 20th, Chiang ordered a curfew in the city of Guangzhou. He also had Ouyang-ge take over Zhongshan by force and arrest the captain Li Jilong, who was a communist. He also arrested other communists in Huangpu Military Academy, including Zhou Enlai, as well as the Soviet consulates from the Communist International. Altogether, these events made up of what was later known as the incident of Zhongshan gunboat. Though certain points in the event remain to be clarified, all agree that it cast a heavy shadow on the relation of the two parties, and in its wake, Chiang rose to the summit of power of the Kuomintang. When the War of Resistance against the Japanese invasion broke out in 1937, the Navy joined the fight, though its tonnage amounted to less than 1/20th of that of Japan. Zhongshan fought valiantly with other battleships. The fleet suffered heavy losses in the course of war. It was reduced to a minimal size by the eve of the battle in defense of Wuhan. In autumn of 1938, the Zhongshan gunboat started from the Yueyang to Jinko Harbor on the Yangtze River for defense of Wuhan, and for what later became known as the most tragic and bloody encounter with the Japanese.
At around 10 a.m. on October 24th, we spotted a Japanese plane. Then we immediately got ready. There was only one plane, which flew away after circling us several times. We knew it was a spy plane. We concluded that it was sent solely to detect the Zhongshan gunboat. Captain Sa said that perhaps it was the time for the real battle. In view of this, we lunched early. Instead of eating at the usual hour of 12, we ate at 11. At the time, everyone was on board the ship. I was in the hind part, as all officers were, while the soldiers stayed in the forepart. Later, the signalman reported seeing about 6 bombers, Japanese bombers. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
On the afternoon of October 24th, 6 Japanese bombers came in formation. Zhongshan gunboat under the command of Captain Sa Shijun headed toward the enemy aircrafts. Though its main guns had been previously removed for defense on the shore, with the remaining small guns, it still produced fires fierce enough to keep the bombers back. It also successfully dodged the aircraft's horizontal bombing. But as hours passed and the horde of bombers continued assaulting the lonely boat, it became clear that the loss of the ship was inevitable. A plunging bombardment damaged the forecastle and the surrounding deck, and Captain Sa had his legs blown off. Sa, however, refused to leave, and there, supporting himself with his hands, he shouted orders for the fight to go on.
There were only 2 anti-aircraft cannons on the boat. The Swedish-made Onicon was in the front of the boat. The other Soviet-made cannon was at the back. It was called Soroton. The bombs fell on both sides of the boat, causing water to splash high in the air. The cannon in the front of the boat broke down. The enemy aircraft dropped more bombs, one of which hit the forecastle. The captain and wheel controller were injured. The captain fell down the steps from the control platform. He was still yelling with his injured legs and told his crew, "Go on fighting. Don't worry about me." No sooner had the captain left than another bomb fell, throwing another guy into the air. His body parts were scattered all over the wall.
Meanwhile, the ship began to pitch. When the sinking was imminent, the deputy captain ordered the lifeboat to be lowered and the captain carried into it. At this moment, the bomber shot out the fuselage, and Sa died in it, with more than 20 other young men. Those remaining on board were rescued by fishermen nearby who came even before the bombers had gone off. When they landed on shore, these men of unequaled strength and loyalty all turned towards the ship and went down on their knees for a somber farewell with their beloved ship. Under the sky, stained blood red by the setting sun, amidst the soaring splashes, the indomitable ship, with its noble head held high, sank to the depth of the roaring waters.
我们呢，刚刚离开这个船边的时候啊，
Immediately after we left the gunboat,
沉下去。
it sank to the bottom of the
然后
river.
我就命令所有的这
I said to all the remaining soldiers,
这个向
everyone pay homage to the gunboat
每个哀伤民族
for 3
表
minutes.
示我们的哀思。
And all of us moaned with deep sorrow for the boat,
非常沉重的心情啊，
and we shed warm tears
悲哀完以
in
后，
great pain.
这个眼泪满眶，悲痛的不得了。
很多同志也流了很多泪，是吧？
Many of us shed tears, and we sang a
我
song.
们也唱了这一首歌，叫
I can still remember a few lines of the song.
就是我还记得一节，
It goes,
听啊，
listen,
飞机放在
the enemy planes are still dropping bombs.
放在不
The cannons are still firing. This is the last drop of blood we can shed to regain our homeland.
一个过后。
Time flowed fast on the Yangtze River, but the Zhongshan gunboat remained alive in people's memory. On the 75th anniversary of the 1911 revolution, the Cultural Relics Department of the Hubei provincial government volunteered to salvage the ship. In the following year, Jiangsu province formally proposed to recover the ship and send it back to Nanjing for exhibition. In 1991, Canton Province also joined the competition for the claim of the salvage. After much consideration, the State Bureau of Cultural Relics assigned the task to Hubei Province. The decision was announced on November 24, 1995, with the approval of the State Council. This episode excited extensive interest at the time, adding a comic touch to the whole story of the ship's recovery. As early as May 1988, the Cultural Affairs Department of Hubei Provincial Government commissioned the South Sea Fleet to find out the exact location of the ship. In March 1994, it further requested the Naval Commanding Office to send a team of 25 to ascertain the ship's condition. Virtually nothing can be seen at the bottom of the river because the streams were extremely turbulent and muddy. The team took more than 20 journeys under water before they finally came to a clear understanding of the ship's size, posture, degree of damage, condition of deposition, and the geology of the riverbed. This stage of work came to a climax on April 3rd when the divers recognized the characters of Zhongshan raised from the copper plate at the port side of the stern. People were overjoyed by the news, for now there could be no doubt it was the one and only Zhongshan gunboat.
First, I touched the inscription of the Zhongshan. I was sure it was the Zhongshan gunboat. These two characters are inscribed at the rear of the sunken ship. Before salvage, we needed to know whether it was the very gunboat we were searching for. This afternoon, I felt the two characters in the water. This proves it really is the gunboat.
Chongqing Salvage Company took over the next stage of work. The company is well known for its realistic approach and steadfast working style. It proposed to raise the ship by its two ends and demonstrated the feasibility of the project at a discussion in January 1995 in which several plans were reviewed and compared. Experts attending the meeting conferred unanimously upon the draft proposal. Elaborate research and laborious calculation followed as top-level panel of experts assembled by the State Bureau of Cultural Relics worked out the details of the plan. By the time the final version was approved, the company had started warming up in the turbulent waters of Mingjian River. The salvage operation started on November 12, 1996, the 130th anniversary of Sun Yat-sen's birth. The first and most difficult step was to remove the silt deposited in the ship, which over the past 59 years had accumulated to 1,500 tons, an amount twice the weight of the ship itself. To make matters worse, the larger part of the silt deposit had hardened. It had to be crushed with high-pressure jet guns before it could be pumped away. Meanwhile, the young men had to wrestle with waste iron, broken nets, ropes and tree blocks that had built up in and around the ship. All this proceeded under the freezing water and the burden of diving equipment as heavy as 90 kilos. By the end of December, the ship was cleared of silt and obstructions and ready for further operation. In time, 20 steel cables were run lengthwise under the bottom of the ship and held tight by 36 hoisters on both sides of the river. When all hoisters started to draw in at one accord, the ship, like a wounded soldier on a stretcher, was gently lifted above the bottom of the river, where it had been lying for half a century. It rose ever so slowly while being pulled toward the shore. On January 19th, about 100 meters from the bank, its rail appeared above the water.